The signal no one wanted to hear in the far corner of the galaxy. A lonely signal echoed across the stars. It was weak, broken, and almost lost in the noise of space. Most ships ignored it, calling it a ghost signal or a trap. No one wanted to take the risk. No one. Except a single old ship named Echo 9. Captain Ray Carter sat in his control chair, eyes fixed on the blinking red dot on his screen. He was a quiet man, with gray streaks in his black hair and a long scar on his left cheek. His ship was slow, rusty, and far from powerful. But Ray had something others didn't need to answer when no one else would. Unknown distress signal detected. The ship's AI said, "Coordinates locked." Ray leaned forward, reading the weak message. The voice was soft, afraid, and broken. It said only a few words, again and again, "Help me. I'm not one of them. Help me." He didn't know who sent it or what danger waited, but he changed course and set a path toward the signal. Echo 9 moved slowly through space, its engines humming low outside. The stars seemed to grow darker, and the space around felt colder after hours of travel. Ray arrived at the Sorsa massive abandoned space station. It floated near a dying star. Its metal body cracked and broken in places. The lights inside flickered weakly, and large scars from old battles marked its surface. No life signs detected. The AI said, "Station power is unstable." Ray wore his suit, grabbed his plasma rifle, and entered the airlock. As the door opened, silence hit him like a wall. The inside of the station was worse than he expected. Wires hung from the ceiling like dead vines, and strange symbols were scratched into the walls. The air smelled old, burnt, and filled with fear. He moved slowly, listening, scanning, watching. Then he heard a soft sob coming from deep inside. He followed the sound through broken halls and dark rooms. His light fell on a small prison cell, covered in scratches and bloodstains. Inside the cell was a young alien girl, curled up in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin was light blue, and her eyes were large and glowing faintly in the dark. She looked up, and for a moment she didn't move. Then she whispered, "Please, don't leave me here." Ray knelt by the cell door. "Who are you?" he asked. "I'm Zilla," she said, her voice shaking. "They left me here with the monsters." Before he could ask more, a loud bang echoed from somewhere deeper in the station. The sound of something heavy dragging across metal floors. Zilla jumped in fear, her hands covering her ears. "They're awake," she said. "We have to go now." Ray blasted the lock and opened the cell. Zilla ran into his arms, trembling. He pulled her behind him and aimed his rifle at the shadows. "What monsters?" he asked. "They hunt everything," she said. "They can smell fear. They don't stop, they don't sleep." They moved fast through the halls, trying to find a way out. But the station felt like a maze, turning them in circles. Then, one by one, lights above them began to die. Darkness crawled in from all sides. The AI's voice came in through Ray's earpiece. "Captain, motion detected, multiple forms." Closing fast, Ray gritted his teeth and kept moving. They reached the main hall, but the exit door slammed shut, locked. No power, no escape. Zilla grabbed Ray's hand. "They control the station now," she whispered. "They want me. And now, they want you too." Ray turned to look behind them. In the flickering light, he saw claw marks on the walls, long and deep. A low growl echoed through the hall, followed by scratching, whispering, and something breathing nearby. He raised his weapon, heart pounding. Zilla's eyes widened as she pointed. There in the shadows, Ray looked and froze. Something was moving, crawling along the walls, too fast to see clearly, and then it stopped. Standing at the edge of the light, watching them, it wasn't just a monster. It had armor, tools, and what looked like a metal mask. It was hunting them, but it was also studying them, Ray slowly stepped in front of Zila. "Stay behind me," he said. The thing stepped closer, claws clicking on the metal floor. Zila whispered, "It remembers me." The monster tilted its head, as if it understood. Then it spoke in a broken voice. "Deep and cold, you should not have come here." Ray fired his weapon, but the monster vanished into the dark again. The lights above them exploded in sparks. Zila screamed, and Ray pulled her close. They were trapped, hunted, and completely alone. And behind them, in the shadows, more shapes began to move. Asterisk Ray's flashlight shook slightly as he moved down the corridor. Behind him, Zila stayed close. Her small hand gripping the back of his suit, she didn't speak, didn't cry. Just followed silent, scared and alert. The station creaked around them, metal groaning like it was alive. Every step felt like it would wake the monsters again. Ray checked his scanner, but it was broken, just showing static and nonsense. He didn't need it now. His ears told him enough. The whispers were coming back, soft, cold, and crawling under his skin. Sometimes they sounded like words, sometimes like memories. He shook his head, tried to focus. They reached a control room, locked the door behind them. Lights flickered on weakly, and the hum of old systems filled the air. Zila sat in the corner, her arms wrapped around herself. Ray stood near a panel, breathing hard, scanning the logs. "What is this place?" he asked, more to himself than her. "It was a prison," Zila said quietly. "Long ago. They brought criminals here from many planets." Ray turned to look at her, and what happened to the prisoners? "They turned them into monsters," she said, "not just with tools, with fear, with pain." Ray frowned. "You said they left you here. Why?" Zila looked down. "Because I'm not useful to them anymore." "What do you mean?" "I was supposed to help them evolve. To understand feelings, kindness, thought." She paused. "But I wouldn't help. I wouldn't let them in." Ray walked over, crouched in front of her. "You're not one of them?" "No," she whispered. "But they tried to make me one." Suddenly, the power flickered and a screen behind Ray blinked on. A recorded message started playing, grainy, old voice, full of fear. "This is Director Haven. All staff evacuated. The experiment failed. They're learning. They adapt. You find this? Leave. Don't try to help her. She's part of it now." Ray turned toward Zila. His eyes narrowed. She looked away, hurt. "I didn't ask for this. They put something inside me. But I've been fighting it, every day." Before Ray could answer, something slammed into the door behind them. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Zila jumped. Covering her ears again, "They've found us," she said, voice shaking. "They know I'm awake." Ray raised his weapon, aimed it at the door. The banging stopped, replaced by breathing slow, deep, too close. Then a voice came through the door, soft and cold. "She belongs to us." Ray's hands tightened on his weapon. "No, she doesn't," he growled. Zila stood up, eyes glowing faintly. "They don't want to kill me," she said. "They want to change me." Ray stepped between her and the door. "I won't let them." The monster outside scratched the door slowly, then whispered again, "You don't understand what she is." Ray shouted, "I don't care." She asked for help, and I answered. Suddenly, the door blew open with a loud crash, and Ray fired without thinking. A shadow moved fast, crashing into him and knocking him to the ground. His gun flew across the room, and the monster stood over him. It had a metal mask, wires across its chest, and glowing red eyes, but its face had almost looked human. Zila screamed, and the creature turned toward her. But instead of attacking, it tilted its head, studying her. "You were made to lead," it said in a strange, broken voice. "You are the key." Ray grabbed a loose pipe and struck the creature in the leg. It hissed and turned back to him, raising a sharp claw just before it struck. Zila stepped forward and shouted, "Stop!" The monster froze, trembling. Zilla stared at it, her voice shaking but firm. "I command you." And to Ray's shock, it obeyed. It stepped back, lowered its claws, and backed out of the room. Then it vanished into the dark. Ray sat up, breathing hard. "What did you just do?" "I don't know," Zilla said, frightened. "I didn't know I could." Ray stood, walked to her. "You have control over them, maybe," she said. "But it's not complete, it's not safe." He picked up his weapon, looked at her with new eyes. "You're not just a prisoner," he said. "You're their queen." Zilla shook her head. "I don't want to be. I just want to leave. I just want to be normal." Ray looked out into the dark corridor. "Then we have to find a way out before they force you to become what they want." Zilla nodded slowly. "There's a ship deep inside the station. They kept it in case someone escaped." Ray turned toward the hallway. "Then let's steal it." They began moving again, deeper into the station. But now, the monsters didn't attack. They watched from the shadows, whispering, waiting, obeying something they could feel but not understand. Zilla had changed, and Ray knew the deeper they went, the more dangerous it would get, not just for them, but for everyone in the galaxy. Because if the monsters were following her, what would happen if she lost control? The station had gone quiet again. Too quiet. Ray didn't trust it. Silence in a place like this wasn't peace, it was a warning. He and Zilla moved through the lower levels, following her memory. The halls were wider now, filled with strange machines and long-forgotten equipment. Thick pipes ran along the walls like veins, dripping with dark liquid that smelled like rust and oil. The lights above them flickered, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Zilla kept her eyes forward, but Ray noticed her hands shaking. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice low. She didn't answer right away, then whispered, "They're talking to me again." Ray stopped walking. "What are they saying?" Zilla stared ahead, her voice distant. "They say, we shouldn't go deeper. They say, I'm changing. They say, I'm not me anymore." Ray placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are still you," he said firmly. "Don't let them get inside your head." She nodded, but her eyes didn't fully believe it. They continued on, passing a row of old cells, some shattered, some sealed. Inside one, Ray saw something that looked human, but wrong. Its skin was stretched, its eyes hollow, and its fingers were like claws. It sat still, not moving, as if asleep, but when they passed, it opened its eyes and smiled. Ray raised his weapon, but Zilla pulled his arm down. "It's already dead," she said. "Just a memory now." Ray didn't understand what she meant, but he moved on, because standing still felt more dangerous than moving forward. As they walked deeper, the walls began to change. They were no longer made of clean metal, they were twisted, warped, like melted bone. Strange shapes pulsed inside the walls, like something living was hiding just behind them. Zilla suddenly stopped, placing her hand against a panel. "This used to be the lab," she said softly. "They did tests here." "On me." Ray looked at her. "What kind of tests?" "They wanted to connect me to the hive," she said. "Make me feel what they feel. Think what they think." She looked up at him. "But I fought back. I kept a part of myself locked away." "That's the part that called you." Ray was about to speak when the lights blinked tan for a moment. Everything turned red. A loud noise echoed through the hall screams. Metal grinding voices layered on top of each other. Zilla dropped to her knees, covering her ears. "They're inside," she cried. "They're inside again." Ray knelt beside her. "Fight them," he said. "You're stronger than they are." Zilla's eyes began to glow brighter, and a strange pulse moved through the walls. The screaming stopped instantly. She stood slowly, breathing hard. "I pushed them out, but they're angry now." Suddenly, a door behind them burst open, and something crawled out. It moved like a spider, but it had a face. a broken human face. It hissed and charged at them. Claws raised. Ray fired. The plasma shot hitting it in the chest. The creature screamed and exploded into dust. But then another one came. And another, crawling from the walls and ceiling. Ray grabbed Zilla's hand and ran. No more hiding, we move. They turned a corner and found another room. This one full of old control panels and broken screens. A large chamber sat in the center, filled with green liquid. Inside floated a body human-shaped but not human at all. Its skin was like glass, and inside were black veins pulsing with light. Zilla stepped forward, staring at it. "That's the first one," she whispered. The Alpha Ray looked at her, confused. Alpha? Of what? She turned to him, eyes wide with fear. The hive. The body inside the chamber moved slightly, its eyes opening. Ray raised his gun. "We have to destroy it." "No," Zilla said. "Not yet." Ray stepped back, shocked. "Why not?" "Because if it dies now, the others will go mad. They'll tear the galaxy apart." She turned to the console. "We need to shut it down. Gently, piece by piece." Ray hesitated, then moved to help her. As they worked, the walls around them pulsed again, whispering voices echoing through the air. One voice stood out, a human voice. Ray froze. Listening, the voice said, "Ray. Ray Carter. You left me behind." His heart sank. "No," he whispered. "That's not possible." Zilla looked at him, confused. "What is it?" Ray's eyes were locked on the speaker. That voice. "It's my daughter." Zilla looked at the machine, then at Ray. "They're using your memories now. They know you're afraid." Ray stepped away, shaken. "They're getting smarter." Suddenly, the lights all shut off, and the room turned cold, in the darkness. Something massive moved, breathing heavy, crawling across the ceiling. Zilla whispered, "It's the Alpha. It's awake." Ray raised his weapon. But the sound of claws scraping metal was all around them. They were surrounded, in the dark, with the Alpha awake and watching. And in the silence that followed, the voice returned clear, sharp, and terrifying. "You brought her back. Now she belongs to us." Asterisk. The emergency lights flickered red as Ray and Zilla ran. Behind them, something huge was moving. Crawling along the ceiling like a beast made of wires and bones, Zilla gripped Ray's arm tightly. Her breath fast, her eyes wide. "The Alpha is awake," she whispered. "It remembers me." Ray didn't stop running, didn't look back. He led her through a side passage narrow. Broken, barely holding together, sparks fell from the ceiling. And the walls shook with every step the Alpha took. They reached a sealed door, old and rusted. Ray forced it open with a grunt, the metal groaning loudly. Inside was darkness and silence. Ray turned on his shoulder light, sweeping the room. This was no lab, no prison cell. It was a survivor chamber, filled with old supply crates and shattered tools. In the corner, something moved. Ray raised his weapon. "Show yourself," he said. A figure sat up slowly, coughing. It was a man-thing, pale, with metal cables fused to his back and chest. His eyes glowed faintly. But not like the monsters. They were tired, but still human. "Don't shoot," he said weakly. I'm not one of them." Zilla stepped forward, studying him. "You're from the science team," she said. "The ones who left me here." The man looked at her, surprised. "You survived." Ray didn't lower his gun. "Who are you?" The man coughed again. "Dr. Solon Var." He said, "I was part of the original experiment." Ray frowned. "You're supposed to be dead." Solon gave a weak smile. "Sometimes I wish I was." Zilla knelt beside him. "Why are you still here?" "They left me," Solon said. "The monsters caught me, but didn't kill me. They used me, studied me, just like we did to them." He looked at his hands. "Now I'm part of the station." Ray finally lowered his weapon, but his face stayed hard. "Can you help us?" he asked. Solon nodded slowly. "Maybe." He looked at Zilla. "You're changing, aren't you?" She looked down. "Yes," Solon sighed. "Then there's no time." He pointed toward a tunnel at the back of the room. "There's a control hub below the central reactor. It can shut down the alphas linked to the hive. But it's dangerous. The monsters will know the moment we enter." Ray looked at Zilla. "Do we have another choice?" Zilla shook her head. "If we don't stop the alpha, it will reach other systems, other planets." Solon stood up slowly. "Limping, I'll guide you," he said, "but I can't promise I'll make it out." They moved together into the tunnel, deep into the lowest parts of the station. The air got colder, the lights dimmer. Strange whispers returned, stronger now. Louder. Zilla pressed her hands against her ears. "They're trying to get in again." Ray touched her arm. "Don't listen. Focus on your voice, not theirs." She nodded, but her hands were trembling. Solon tapped into a control panel as they reached a locked blast door. "I built this system," he said, "before I knew what we were really creating." The door opened slowly, revealing a huge chamber. At the center was a tall tower of light-pulsing energy moving like a heartbeat. Floating above it, wrapped in metal wires, was a copy of Zilla, but it wasn't her. It was pale, hollow, eyes black like space. Zilla gasped. "That's not me." Ray stared. "What is it?" Solon whispered. "A failed clone, one of many. They used your DNA to make new versions. Ones they could control." Zilla took a step forward, and the clone opened its eyes. It spoke in a voice just like hers, but colder. "You gave them hope. You gave them purpose. And now you will give them form." Suddenly, alarms blared, and the tower lit up. The walls of the chamber cracked open, and monsters began to pour in. Ray raised his weapon and shouted, "We hold them off." Solon moved to the control panel, typing fast. "I can shut the link, but I need her Zilla." "You have to connect to the system." Zilla looked at him, afraid. "If I do that, what happens to me?" Solon looked at her with sad eyes. "I don't know." Ray turned to her. "You don't have to do this." Zilla stepped forward. "Yes, I do." She touched the tower, and a bright light spread through the room. The monsters froze, screaming in pain. The clone of Zilla screamed too, glitching, breaking apart. Zilla's body shook, her eyes glowing with strange symbols. Ray called her name, but she didn't respond. She was somewhere else, now inside the hive. Inside the dark, Solon screamed. "She's doing it." The monsters turned on him. Dragging him into the shadows, Ray tried to help, but it was too late. The system exploded with light, and Zilla collapsed. The clone shattered, and the monsters dropped to the ground like puppets with cut strings. Ray rushed to her, picked her up. She was breathing, but barely. As alarms continued to echo through the station, Ray whispered, "You're still you, Zilla." But he couldn't ignore what he saw in her glowing eyes. She wasn't just a girl anymore. She was something more, something the monsters feared. Zilla's body was cold in Ray's arms, but she was alive, barely. Her chest rose and fell slowly, and strange lights still glowed beneath her skin. Ray looked down at her, heart pounding. She had saved them, but something inside her had changed. Around them, the reactor chamber was silent. The monsters had fallen, lifeless and still. The clone was gone, shattered like glass, but the tower still pulsed with energy. And deep inside that pulse, something waited. Ray carried Zilla through the burning hallways. The walls shaking around them, sparks rained down from the ceiling. The station was starting to fall apart. "You saved everyone," Ray whispered. But at what cost? They found an old med bay nearby, broken but still active. Ray laid Zilla on a table. Searching for anything that could help, an old scanner flickered to life. Reading her vital signs, what it showed made Ray freeze. Her DNA wasn't just alien anymore. It was mixed, rewritten, reshaped, human, alien. Machine all blended together. She wasn't just Zilla now. she was something new. The AI on Echo 9 connected through Ray's wrist device. "Captain," it said, "the subject cells are producing a unique code. A code that matches the station's control system. She has become the override key." Ray stared. "At Zilla, her blood controls the station." "Yes," the AI said. "And possibly." The entire hive. Before Ray could reply, alarms sounded again. A cold wind blew through the medbay, and the lights turned blue. The monsters were waking again. Ray stood up fast, aiming his weapon, but these were not the same monsters as before. They moved slower, more confused. They looked at Zilla with rage, but with fear. One of them stepped forward, broken armor hanging from its body. It spoke in a deep voice. Broken and slow. "She commands us." Ray didn't understand. "What do you mean?" The creature pointed at Zilla. "She carries the core, the voice of the first. She is no longer prey. She is." Queen Ray raised his weapon. "She's not your queen. She's a person." The creature looked at him, then backed away slowly. "We will not harm her," it said, "but others will come." "Others who still follow the old command?" Ray's stomach turned. "If others come, she be hunted." The creature nodded, then faded back into the shadows, leaving behind silence once more. Zilla stirred, her eyes opening slowly. Ray knelt beside her. "You're awake?" She blinked. Confused. "I saw them. I saw everything. I was inside their minds, their history, their pain." Ray helped her sit up. "You shut them down." She shook her head. "No, I took their voice. They were lost, angry. Broken now. They follow me because I understand them." Ray looked at her carefully. "Are you still you?" She smiled softly. "I think so, but I'm not the same anymore." Ray stood, pacing. "If your blood holds the key, maybe we can shut the whole system down, destroy the hive network forever." Zilla looked. "Unsure that would kill all of them." Ray stared at her. "They're killers," Zilla nodded. "But I was one of them once." Before Ray could answer, the medbay door burst open. A new group entered faster, armored. Human-looking but not human. Hunters, built to stop anything that got out of control. Zilla gasped. "They're here to destroy the station and me." Ray pulled her behind him, firing at the lead soldier. It went down, sparks flying from its chest. "These aren't just hunters," he said. "They're machines." Zilla reached for the console and touched it. Her veins lit up, sending a wave of energy through the floor. The lights turned red, the walls pulsed, the hunters froze. Ray watched in shock as Zilla took control of the station. "I can guide them," she said, "but I need more power." Ray thought for a moment, then made a choice. "We go to the core," he said. "We shut everything down from there, permanently." Zilla nodded, standing up. Still weak, but glowing stronger with every step as they moved through the station. Monsters cleared the path, bowing their heads. They didn't speak, didn't attack. They obeyed now. Ray whispered, "You're changing everything." Zilla whispered back, "Maybe I was never here to be rescued. Maybe I was here to decide what happens next." As they approached the core, the air grew heavier, lights dimmed, and the hum of power grew louder. The final system waited. Zilla placed her hand on the main control panel. The console recognized her instantly. "Core access granted." The system said, "Final command ready." Ray stood beside her, weapons still ready. "What now?" he asked. Zilla looked at him, her voice soft but steady. "Now I choose if they live or die." The screen flashed with two options: terminate hive or merge and rewrite. Ray held his breath. Zilla raised her hand, and everything went silent. Zilla stood in front of the glowing screen, her hand hovering over the command. The room was silent, but her heart beat like thunder. Behind her, Ray watched closely. His weapon lowered, his voice steady. "Whatever you choose," he said, I'll stand with you. Two choices blinked on the screen. Terminate Hive or merge and rewrite. One meant death for the monsters, an end to the terror. The other meant to risk a chance to turn them into something else, something new. Zilla closed her eyes. She heard the voices again, the monsters whispering in her mind. They were afraid, broken, confused. They weren't born to be evil. They were created in pain. She pressed her hand to the console, and the system responded. Merge and rewrite. Selected, a low hum filled the core chamber, and the lights changed from red to white. Ray stepped forward. What does it mean? Zilla looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. It means I'll rewrite their minds. She said, but to do that, I have to link fully with the hive. Ray's face went pale. You'll become part of them. Zilla nodded slowly. Only I can do it. Ray reached for her arm. You're just a girl. You shouldn't carry this. Zilla smiled gently. You said once I was more than a girl. I believed you. Ray let go. But his hand shook. I'm not losing another one, he said, his voice cracking. Zilla looked at him. What do you mean? Ray didn't answer at first. Then he looked at her, eyes filled with pain. My daughter. She was your age, he said. She died on a mission like this. I couldn't save her. Zilla stepped closer, placing a hand over his. I'm not her, she said, but I promise I'll come back. She turned back to the core and stepped into the center. The tower of light rose around her, and thin wires extended, touching her skin. Ray watched helplessly as Zilla floated, her body surrounded by glowing code. Her mind connected with the hive, and her scream echoed through the chamber, not from pain, but from everything. She felt every memory, every monster, every choice. She saw what they were before they were twisted. She felt their hunger, their rage, their loneliness, and slowly she gave them something they had never known: peace. The code changed color, shifting from red to blue to green. One by one, across the station, monsters fell to their knees. Their claws opened, their masks fell. They looked at each other not with hate, but with understanding. Ray could hardly believe it. The monsters were crying, not screaming, not attacking, crying. Zilla's voice came through the speakers, soft and full of light. They remember now, she said. They remember who they used to be. Suddenly, the station shook violently, and Ray lost his balance. The control panel blinked red again, warning lights flashing. Warning, the system said. External force detected. Unknown vessel approaching. Ray ran to the screen, watching as a massive warship entered the system. It wasn't part of the hive. It was human military class. Weapons armed. Ray's face hardened. They're here to wipe it all out, he said. They don't know the monsters have changed. Zilla's voice echoed again. Weaker now. They'll destroy everything, including the ones we saved. Ray made his choice in that moment. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward the launch bay. He had one small fighter ship left, fast and armed. Not strong enough to win, but maybe strong enough to delay. He reached the bay, started the engines, and launched into space. The warship locked onto the station. Charging its main cannon, Ray opened a channel, shouting into the comms. This is Captain Ray Carter. He said, hold your fire. The hive is neutralized. The response came cold and sharp. No risks taken, the commander said. We finish what they started. Ray didn't wait. He flew straight toward the cannon, firing everything he had. Missiles, lasers, energy blasts, anything to blind or block them. The warship fired back, damaging Ray's ship. Smoke filled the cockpit. Alarms screamed, but he kept going. He shouted into the comms again. There's a girl on that station. She saved them. She saved us all. Inside the station, Zilla opened her eyes, tears running down her cheeks. She could feel Ray's pain, his fight, his heart. He wasn't just fighting the warship. He was fighting fate. She reached into the core again. Pushing her mind further, one final command, one last code. A wave of light spread from the station, reaching Ray's ship, reaching the warship. It entered their systems, not as a virus, but as a message, a voice, her voice. I am Zilla, she said, and the monsters are no longer monsters. They are mine now, and I choose peace. The warship stopped firing, the cannon powered down. And silence filled space. Ray drifted in his damaged ship. Breathing hard, a whisper came into his ear. Soft and warm. You fought for me. Zilla said, now I fight for all of us. And then, the stars lit up not with weapons, but with hope. The warship floated in silence, its weapons cold, across the station. The monsters, once fierce, wild, and cruel, stood still. They were no longer snarling beasts. They were survivors. They were something new. In the heart of the station, Zilla lay still inside the glowing core. Her body was motionless, her eyes closed. But her mind was awake. She was everywhere, Neen. The lights, in the air, in the code. She had become the voice of the hive, and the hive had chosen to follow her. Ray's small fighter drifted nearby. Engines dead, hull cracked. Inside, Ray lay bleeding, his hand gripping the controls. Smoke filled the cabin. Red lights blinked in warning, but his eyes were fixed on the station. Come back, kid, he whispered. Don't leave me too. Back inside the station, Zilla's body began to glow brighter. The lights around the core pulsed with her heartbeat. She had seen so much wars, pain, fear, creation, and betrayal. But she had also seen hope. Hope in one man who didn't walk away. Hope in a species called human. Hope that monsters didn't have to stay monsters. She reached out with her mind, sending a signal to Echo 9. The ship's AI responded at once. Zilla. Systems online. The lights in the fighter flickered, and Ray gasped. Echo. He said weakly. The AI replied. Core link reestablished. Zilla has returned. The station's main hangar doors opened slowly. Echo 9 flew out of the bay, controlled by Zilla's signal. It latched onto Ray's damaged ship and pulled it. Inside, medical bots rushed forward, stabilizing his injuries. Ray lay on a stretcher. Breathing hard, above him, on the medbay screen, Sala's face appeared, soft and shining. You're not dead yet. She teased gently. Ray smiled weakly. I never got the chance to rest. She looked at him with warmth, but also sadness. I had to become something else, she said, to stop them. To help them. Ray nodded. And you did, Zilla continued. But I can't stay like this forever. My mind is in the system, but my body, it's fading. Ray sat up, pain in his eyes. You gave everything, he whispered. Zilla smiled. Not everything. A second pod opened nearby. And from it, Zilla stepped out. Not a projection, not a ghost. She was real again. Her body had changed slightly, her eyes brighter, her skin glowing faintly. But it was her. Ray stood slowly, stunned. How? Zilla walked forward. I copied what I needed, she said. Left the rest in the system. The monsters still follow the part of me that remains there. But this part, the part that feels, laughs, and cries, that part came back. Ray looked at her, eyes wet. You did the impossible, he said. Zilla smiled. So did you. Meanwhile, on the warship, the human commander watched the data stream. They saw the monsters walking peacefully inside the station. They saw the change, and for the first time, they paused their mission. A message came through. From Zilla, no more war, she said. They were made by fear, but they are no longer ruled by it. We offer peace, not surrender. The commander hesitated, then replied, Then let's meet not as soldiers, but as survivors. Weeks passed, the galaxy watched as something strange happened. Monsters no longer attacked colonies. Instead, they helped rebuild, clear debris, even deliver supplies. Some people were afraid, some didn't trust it, but others believed at the center of it all was Zilla, part girl, part code, part miracle. And beside her, always, was Racecard, grumpy, stubborn, and loyal. They became legends not because they destroyed something, but because they saved it. One day, a message arrived on Echo-9, a weak signal from a far-off system. It simply said, "Please help us. We're not like them." Ray looked at Zilla, raising an eyebrow. She grinned. "Sounds familiar." He smiled, ready for one more rescue. She nodded. Always, Echo-9 turned its course toward the unknown. Engines warming. Behind them, the station faded into the stars. No longer a prison. Now it was a sanctuary. Zilla looked out the window, eyes full of light. "Not all monsters are born," she said. "Some are made, and some can be unmade." The stars opened wide, and they flew forward. Together, human and alien, not as enemies, not as weapons, but as hope.